Ticket Machine is the official ticket broker of Spartan Nation. No matter what you need a ticket for, border to border, coast to coast, the Ticket Machine is your ticket source. So whether you need to get into the hottest concerts, the best sporting events, you want the best seats in the house, or you just want to get in the door, when you want to go to any event that requires a ticket, anywhere, border to border, coast to coast, it's always theticketmachine.com. Theticketmachine.com, 517-655-3201. Check it out today at theticketmachine.com.
I know. Do it quicker. So, exciting day around here for me. It's not only the first day of practice, which seems strange that we're saying that in September, but with our new facility getting within weeks of being finished, and 90% of ours is finished, and with a good basketball team, it's a pretty exciting time. So I'm thrilled with it. I'm ready to go. We're 99% healthy and looking forward to some big things.
Tom spent a lot of time this summer with your players, and Jaron said something to me that I'd never heard a player say, even Miles. He said he appreciated the opportunity to play for you. And I asked him about, what went into his decision. He said, at the end of the day, I wanted to be able to say I played for one of the greatest coaches of all time. To hear young stars like him where it's not about him is pretty special, is it not?
Well, I think I've been blessed with a lot of things. In the last 5-6 years, we've had some incredible kids, from the Draymonds to the Valentines to, right on down the road here. But there's no question that when Miles is here, he's a superstar without an ego. And Jaron's a little more talkative than Miles. I mean, Miles is the quiet, shy guy, and Jaron's the effervescent guy that exudes confidence. And yet I think they both kind of rub off each other. And what we have gotten back to a little bit more is the culture. And when a kid says something like that, number one, that's great respect for me, I guess, and our program, but I think he's bought into some of the culture too, and because those other guys are selling the right stuff. And when that happens, that's exciting. It's exciting for me. I can't complain. I mean, we've always got our problems. You're always going to have one here or one there, but for the most part, this group has been incredible, and some of them for 2-3 years now.
There's always obviously expectations here, but with this group again, another group with high expectations. How have you seen them handle that in the off season, and does it get them a little more fired up as practice really starts at this point?
I'm hoping so. I've been on the road quite a bit now, and I haven't been around them quite as much. I mean, I get my point in time with them, but I think what's cool is you really look for some signs. Are guys going to work harder, or do they think they arrived? What are the dreams and goals? Are they really big for themselves and for the team, or are they just yeah, we've accomplished something. We're picked in the top 5 or whatever it may be. The other thing you look for is when a guy doesn't go pro that could go pro, is he going to bounce back now? Or is he going to kind of figure out, I don't have to go to class, I don't have to do this, who cares about the academics, I'm already arrived, I could already have gone, so just got to maintain what I got. And Miles is about as far from that as there is in a person, He had an incredible summer academically. He's off to a good start now. Why does that matter? It just kind of tells you something about him. And so I think that nobody's resting on their laurels. I think a lot of guys had great summers. We'll see now as it gets turned up a little bit and basketball season starts to come, more exposure for them, more interest for them. How do they handle that? I guess I won't know till I find out, but I like our chances of handling it well. They just seem to be a group that is more driven on what they want to accomplish personally and with the team than they are about what people think of them or what people say about them.
Tom, is there something you're hoping to find out about your team between now and when the season starts?
Yeah, I'm really am. I'm hoping to see if we can guard somebody. I'd like to see if we can do that. I like to see if we can handle distractions, because there'll be some positive and some negative distractions. I want to see if we can handle that. I want to see if we can not turn the ball over. Those are kind of our 3 issues that we're really looking at. There's a million others, but if you can handle distractions it's going to be very important, especially when you are highly ranked and you have some pretty good players that could lead to a lot of distractions one way or another. If you can defend well and then rebound well, you're going to have a chance to win the big games. You know, winning small games will, you know, you could cheat yourself through and get away with it, but it isn't going to win you the big games. And turnovers, you know, we see it in football. I was at the Bears game last night, you know, with the Packers, and a couple turnovers early, and all of a sudden it's 14 or 21 to nothing, you know, and it's that way in basketball, and there's, you know, usually more turnovers in basketball. So it's something that I don't think I've done a very good job here as a coach over the years. I think we've turned the ball over a little more than most, and I was semi-hide behind that we're a running team, but if truth be told, and some of you dug in, we aren't turning the ball over on the break as much as we are in the half court. So those are going to be the 3 or 4 points of emphasis. With the distractions, ours has been one of my favorite, it still is, and with more expectations and more people interested in what they do, that means more people are interested around campus, so the distractions will still be first on my list.
You'd rather have a year like this, though, than a year where you don't have a shot, right?
Oh yeah, you know, I've been a couple years where we were, you know, what is it, unranked or ranked real low, and expectations are low. That's no fun, you know. I mean, because our program's to the point where we should, and our fans should expect that we're going to be knocking on the door to do some important things. And you know, this year, I mean, I couldn't even hide behind that, and I haven't hid behind that. I know what kind of team we have. Now we have to stay healthy. We have to stay kind of distractionless within reason. You know, there's always going to be some, but we do those two things. And I think the other job that I have this year in my staff is, let's face it, we've got some players, we've got some very good players, but we've got some depth, and how we put that together will be very, very important. Making sure we have the right lineups in there together, making sure that we have guys that can play together, you know, and I think maybe the most important thing, who's going to be great at coming off the bench? Because, you know, I've had some great teams with stars coming off the bench, and I've had, you know, some other teams that we had no depth like last year, and we had problems. So those will be the issues. But yeah, I'm excited to get the opportunity. It's a privilege, or as Tom says, we don't got to do this, we get to do this. And that's been the line of our team all summer, you know. Quit looking at it like it's a chore. We don't have to do this, we get to do this. And it's a privilege. It's a privilege to coach these guys, at least until we start the real full practice 20 minutes from now, and then it's dog eat dog, man. We got to get after it and get ready.
Ben told me last month that he was going to be 100% by Midnight Madness. You just said 99%. Is he a little bit ahead of schedule?
You know, Ben is coming pretty good. I mean, even today now they say no contact, but he can get a little bit more involved in just about every bit of practice except, you know, maybe the scrimmage work. You know, and Kyle Arns is, you know, had the little foot, and he's maybe a week or two away from being, but yeah, other than that, man, and I feel like we're as healthy as we've been, and Ben has been, he's a good player. He would have helped us last year, you know, so been very impressed, you know, when you see our team, which most of you have, we actually look like a basketball team instead of a soccer team like last year. And that's no insult to soccer. Just little different sized people, and we've got some size, we've got some depth, and right now we have a pretty good healthy team.
Where's Gavin at right now physically, and then also with him and Ben? I mean, those are two guys you got to try and work into that rotation.
Right.
Those are the two guys you're talking about.
Those are two of more than 3 or 4. I mean, you know, like I said, our lineup is going to be. The nice thing is, I got a feeling there's going to be some incredibly competitive practice like the old days. And different former players that have come back, that's what excites them the most. David Thomas, that's what excites him the most, because he remembers some of the practices when we were not only everybody competing for a job, but we had size, we had strength, we had all those things. So, you know, what did you really hit on when you said Ben and
Ben and
Gavin.
Gavin, just trying to
Well,
work
Gavin,
on-
yeah, you asked what Gavin is. Gavin is 99.99%. I mean, he's been doing everything full. He's been scrimmaging. He's been playing the war game. You know, the only thing we have to do with Gavin now is make sure that he doesn't, you know, as he gets tired, as you have 2.5-hour practices, maybe at the beginning, and we might be pulling him for a few things just from a conditioning. But we just had our big test this past, I think it was last Thursday or Friday, and boy, everybody tested out real good, and Gavin was real good, so that's encouraging.
Tom, with what's going on with the federal probe in college basketball, just your reaction in general, and can it be a good thing long-term for college basketball? I mean, can the feds clean up this game?
Well, disappointment would be the first word I'd use. You know, I'm disappointed, because I don't know if anything's any good when it's when it casts a, you know, kind of gives you a black eye for your profession, whether it be yours or mine. I'm not sure that I would ever hope that something that negative has to be done to clean it up. But to be honest with you guys, I've been on the road. I know very little more than you guys know. You know, it's this is a new frontier. You know, I've never seen really in a long time. I wasn't around with the gambling of many years ago when the federal government gets involved in something. But it's just disappointing for what I've read and what I've heard. But you know, right now I'm going to just focus in on our team. I'm going to focus in on what we can do today in practice. I'm going to focus in on that football game tomorrow and see where it takes us. I hopefully, when I do know more, I will answer the questions as honestly as I can answer them. But right now, there's so many things that have been thrown around, and some think a lot more yet to come, some don't. It's sad would be the best word for me right now.
When you look at Judd's passing, I was thinking about where the program was when he left, and now tens of millions into new facilities. Are you able to appreciate, or are you so in the moment, how far the program's come from when Judd handed you the baton?
You know, I went to his funeral, of course, on Saturday, and I went out there, and, you know, there were some guys there. Steve Smith came in, and, you know, we were talking about those days, you know. I've talked to Gus Kanakis about the real early days, and you know, I've gotten a chance to be part of the journey and part of the process of building this thing, and there's still a lot of basement that Judd Heathcote has in this place. I mean, the structure, the foundation has to be strong to hold the building, right? And right now, that structure and foundation has been strong, and hopefully, you know, we're starting to put the rest of the house together. Not finished yet, but we built it the way we want it. Now it's adding all the, you know, the things that make a house a home, and that means, you know, we keep increasing the facilities and doing a better job. But a house is never a home until pictures are hung. My pictures are banners. If banners are hung, and the house becomes a home. So that's what we're still working on.
You know, kind of go back to what Larry asked about a little bit. You're on the Guardians of the Game committee. I mean, do you guys, have you met yet on that? And have you talked to, or what message would you give other coaches?
You know, we haven't met on it. I just came back from my meetings a week before this all broke, and I don't think anybody knew or saw this coming. But you know, I'm sure we will. I'm sure we'll have conference calls. You know, I don't think anybody's got their arms around it yet, you know, or the depth of it or what actually is going on. So it's hard to do anything and accuse of anybody of anything until you really know exactly what's going on. Now, some of these things that they print and write that are already etched in stone, those things aren't good. And, you know, why they're happening, I've got my own reasons on some things that have happened and some things that, you know, they're just getting more and more out of control. So as Larry said, if this reels us back and makes us relook at some things and figure out what our summers are like and how we can get things better for both the players and the coaches and everybody else, then there's a benefit for us. I wouldn't say it's great because of the negativeness of it, but you know, we all learn from some something that hits home, and this has hit home. And when we have those discussions and when I get my arms around it, we can have a press conference that's geared more to that, and I would be more than happy to answer. I really would.
Coach, Miles and Tum seem to be the leaders on the team. Has anybody else been stepping up?
Well, Miles and Tum were voted my captains by their teammates, and we're holding one spot if we have a third one, just for that reason, you know. There's different guys, you know. I mean, Gavin's trying to as a senior, but he's been, you know, out so long. Josh Langford has actually taken some major steps because he's a very shy and quiet kid, and he's made some major steps, you know. I think Cassius is making some steps, and believe it or not, you know, both Ben and in all honesty, Jaron. I mean, Jaron's not afraid to hear himself talk, you know, and I mean that mostly in a very good manner. He knows what he's talking about, and he's growing every day. We've seen him mature enormously in the 2 months, both physically and emotionally. And so, you know, now that we get to go almost every day, you know, we're, better be careful what I say here, we get to go our 20 hours a week, 6 hours a day, 6 times a week, 20 hours a week, and, you know, it's more consistent than the twice a week practices. So I'm going to see who else does step up, and I think it's important. The leadership is as important as our distractions or our defense, to be honest.
The NCAA is probably focused on other things other than how many hours a week you go right now.
I don't know. You know, I know this. Right now, I think they might be focusing on everything, so I'm going to make sure I just get my 20-19-59 in case there's a timing error.
Over the summer, Xavier frustrated a lot of people by playing defense in pickup games.
Yeah.
And he said to me
That's right.
that you made him promise that if you gave him a scholarship, he would never let down his intensity. And he said, so he won't do it in a pickup game because he never wants to be accused of lying to you.
We did. I don't know about that part as far as lying to me, but we did talk to him about he's got to play with some passion and energy because that's who and what he is. You know, he's a skilled Antonio Smith. You know, he'd just soon knock you on your tail as he would score baskets. But I've been most impressed with the way you started it. He does guard people, and he's made it a lot rougher on Nick. You know, Nick last year was going against 6'5" walk-ons, and that was good for confidence, bad for reality. And reality set in a little bit more. We've had more shots blocked in practice with all those big guys in there than I've had in a year. So we'll see if that happens a little bit today, or we'll see how it works. But there's no question that a guy that we brought in that we thought would be way down here with a long ways to go to get up is right in the thick of things. He's impressed us both with his conditioning. He's gotten in much better shape, and academically he's grown a lot as a student. So, you know, unfortunately I'm trying to find some bad things to say about some guys so I don't sound like I'm softening as I get older, but he's been a bright spot.
Is it different to have a family guy as a freshman? I mean, all summer your guys are running over to his apartment to hold the baby and play with Yanni. And
yeah, it's a little different, you know. I mean, and it's going to have some difficult times still, you know. That's the fun part. And then reality starts setting in too, you know, especially as you start working more hours and have more obligations. And, you know, like my wife, you know, when I work more hours and they're not always happy with you, and then the baby starts crying, you know, he's going to have some challenges ahead of him, but he's handled it pretty well so far. The players have handled it well to help him, and I guess I'm proud of him for that.
Now, when you have teams with bigger expectations, are you tougher on them?
You know, sometimes I am. It depends on their egos. It depends on where they are. You know, this team, I honestly feel like we're all in this together. You know, they know the pressure on them, and I know the pressure on all of us. And you know, and I talked to Miles about the pressure on him. I mean, there's so many, you know, crazy things out there being said as far as, you know, where Miles would have got drafted, where's he going to get drafted. So, you know, he's done a better job than me of not even worrying about it. So if they don't get fat and sassy, I'm going to coach them, and hard but good. And if they do, I'm going to coach them the other way, because that'll be the downfall of this team if we start thinking we're better than we are, because we got a good team. But Duke just added the best junior in the country in late August. That changes that. We're going to feel sorry for Kentucky or Arizona. They got loaded teams. There is a bunch of teams at the top that are very good, and Wichita State might be as good as any of them because they've got veterans, a lot of veterans on that team, and tough veterans.
You talked about Nick, his development. It looked like he was trying to put the ball on the deck a little more this summer. Do you want to see him be a more face-up guy, or what things do you want him to work on besides maybe defense?
Well, as I used to say about Morris, I want him right now to be walking around campus trying to find the first person he guarded. That's what I want him to do right now, because if he can guard somebody, especially on those pick and rolls, we'll get more. He can score, and he is a better shooter than he was a year ago. He is better putting the ball, and he's in better shape. But for us to be great, for any team in any sport, 99 times out of 100, you better be able to guard, and that is still, my concern. I've seen improvement, but now that we get in there, it's been kind of difficult too, because some guys don't look as good. Doug Herner said it best: you're going to have some ugly practices when you got two good teams. If you go to a football practice, they usually put, first string offense against second string defense, second string team defense against whatever it is. You know what I mean? They usually flip-flop them. And right now, if we flip-flop them, there's not going to be a lot of drop-off. So things are going to be a little crazier, which I think is going to make us a better team and make each player a better player. But there's going to be some challenges out there for some guys. I think Nick is definitely in better shape. He's definitely way ahead where he was last year. It's, Cassius has improved a lot on his defense, but improving a lot and being good enough to play at a championship level are two different things.
Anything else, guys? I'm going to ask you real quick about considering changes to the transfer rule, about eliminating the sitting out 1 year. What are your thoughts on that?
Is this HBO or is this real? You know what? I'm not very fond of it. I don't have a solution, because I think there are some problems. If I was the czar for the day, which there seems to be 500,000 of them out there, because I've heard everybody's not opinion but real strong opinion. So I'll give you my somewhat of an opinion. I don't have an answer for some of the problems. I do think, as I've heard many different people talk about, what it'll do, I'm still going with what I've always believed. And I've done this in my whole career. What is best for the kid? So those of you that have sons and daughters, what is best for your kids? When the going gets tough, bolt. If that's what's best for them, then that's what I'm voting for. But I just don't see it. I don't see a lack of discipline. Is there reasons? Is there times? This stuff about coaches can leave. I just saw a buyout on TV about a guy that just got fired. There's some huge buyouts. Mine's not huge, but it's big buyouts, and so we don't get to just leave and go wherever we want and do whatever we want. And sometimes at 18, you make poor decisions. I got a lot of freshmen, and I called a lot of them that were freshmen, the Morris Petersons, the Mateen Cleaves, and asked them, what would you have done your freshman year? I'm out of here, man. I'm out of here. Judd had a rule, rest his soul, that, imagine, I'm still talking about the guy. You think he had an impact, but he had a rule that every freshman, or a theory, that every freshman was unhappy and every freshman wanted to transfer. Just think about it. You score 30 points in high school, and you score 10, and you're a pretty good player in college as a freshman, and you're not happy. And it's so distorted, and it's so many people in your ear. Do I think it'll hurt the game? I do. Do I think it'll hurt the camaraderie of your profession? I do. But those wouldn't be reasons that I would vote against it. Do I think, honestly, we're teaching kids the wrong thing. And if a coach leaves and a player should leave, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. He should leave and be eligible immediately. I would. That would be my compromise in it. But I just don't think we're doing what's best for the player. And those of you in the media, or those out there in the media, or those out there that are fans that are thinking it's a selfish act on my point, think it. I mean, I've given it a lot of thought, and I haven't changed in anything I've done since the day I got the job. Sitting Cleves and Antonio Smith out of a game against Cleveland State, or half the game because of academic reasons, and almost lost. And my job was on the line. So I was no different in year 2 than I'm in year 23 on this. Do what's best for the kids. And just being able to have the freedom to move anywhere and do anything you want. I ask each and every one of you that are parents, because I know there's a lot in this room, is it okay if your kid decides what time he wants to come home? Is it okay if your kid decides or he wants to go to school in junior high and elementary school and high school? You got to have a commitment. You got to have some passion for what you're doing. There's got to be this transferring around like we're all doing. It might be good in society. You can have 15 different jobs, but I don't think it's healthy in the way we're bringing up our kids. So I'm taking the opposite approach as some fairly important people in this country that I have great respect for and think completely opposite. That's my take on it. So I'd like to turn the mics around and say, what's your take on it? Fred?
No, I don't have a take.
I think like if your coach that you signed with leaves, you should be able to leave without penalty.
Okay.
If not, you should have to sit out here.
Yeah, and the one thing that's been brought to my attention, why is it football and basketball? I think it should be all sports. Because if we're saying what we're believing, if we are, who can beat another free year of education? I mean, that's what we go to school for, right? It's all about education. And if you happen to be done with your regular, because some schools get these guys done in 2.5 years, then work on your master's, But how can you beat that? The greatest players that are going pro probably aren't the guys that are transferring. And I just say again, I've been brought up when the going gets tough, the tough get going. Hell, I wanted to leave here sometimes too. I'm sure glad I did.
What's driving it, do you think? Why do people all of a sudden want this?
Because people want to side for, I mean, let's face it, the NCAA has made some good decisions, some bad decisions. And so I think sometimes we get where we just go against the establishment. I would like to sit in a room with everybody who has different opinions, learn from them. Maybe I'm wrong on some of this, but I'd like to just ask the simple question that I always ask. So what would you do with your family? What do you believe in? How do you raise your kids? Because that's what I'm doing. I just got somebody passed me one of these things. It's called a baton in the UP and track. You give it a baton. Well, I got parents that passed the baton to me, and some parents, maybe didn't do as good a job academically, and they asked me to do a better job. And some in different ways, but I don't know of anybody that says, can you imagine disciplining a kid, transferring that semester and being eligible at the next school, the second semester, and ready to play? Whew. I mean, if my team last year with all those injuries early, if I could say, well, let's see, I'll go to Kansas and take that job second semester for the same amount of money, that sounds like a good deal to me.
Well, it's like free agency and trading or something.
It's free agency without contracts. I mean, that's my opinion. A lot of people have other opinion. I respect those opinions. I just wonder if we're giving so much. I love my kids. I love those players as much as anybody in the country. And I'm taking a stance that sometimes is not for the kids. I guess if you think they should have complete freedom to do whatever they want at 18, I'm trying to be a man at 60. I still struggle once in a while. At 18, I wasn't a very good one.
I'm curious,
We gotta make this last one.
Susie calls you a rock star around here. When you go to a place like last night, do you have some obscurity, some privacy, or are you posing for pictures and signing autographs there too?
No, you know what the difference was?
What?
Susie's wrong here, but there I was a rock star.
Oh,
You know
really?
why? Yeah,
They don't get you all the time.
No, because the people that go to those games, I must have run into 10,000 Yoopers there.
Oh, really?
So they had their coveralls on, drinking a beer. I mean, it was my kind of place. I mean, it was, so yeah, you know, hey, Iron Mountain, hey, I'm from Segola, you know where that is? Hell yeah, I know where that is, man. I was a rock star at that game, but not for the same reason Susie thinks around here. I was in one of my favorite elements, football, my definite favorite element. I hate to say it, but even Spartan Stadium, as good as it is, as much as I love it, there is nothing as sacred as being in Lambeau Field. Nothing. It was special, and thanks to Mariucci, I get to share it with my son. He had never been there. We took it all in, got there 4 hours early, and just kind of walked around everywhere. Watched the guy, you know, around here they might, you know, grill a pig out or something, you know. You know what they did up there? Mariucci ate one on the set.
Bear.
That's good, isn't it? That's
I
really
only
good.
took a little bit. You know, not that good yet, but they had a bear. They were turning on that thing, and I said, holy God. I mean, what the hell's going on here? It was great. It was great. All right, guys?
Thanks, Tom.
All right, guys.